A banker stole 1.5 million US dollars public money in Africa, while we have millions of children suffering. This is cash. Look at it, 1.5 million. But let us watch the video and talk about this.
She married a thief.
Listen.
And gave birth to a child for a thief. And that thief stole all this money and more that you are seeing here. His lawyers were with me this morning. He already has a 250 million debt to the people who are running after him. And I told them that my interest is to make him bankrupt. And I asked them, do you know what bankruptcy means? And the lawyer says, I have an idea. I said, well, let me explain it to you. Bankruptcy actually means your inability to pay your debts. So people come after you to say you owe them, but you cannot pay. That is what bankruptcy is.
Africa.
And it is my desire to make this man bankrupt for life. I am a freedom fighter for the people of Sierra Leone. I don't care about him. And I'm not worried about the fact that his family will go to bed without food.
Let's stop the video for a moment. We talk about this and then we watch the rest of the video. So a banker in Sierra Leone stole 1.5 million US dollars cash, public money, and put this money in his or her house like it is just their own money, you know, while we have millions of people suffering in Sierra Leone. Children cannot go to school, you know, some cannot even have a food, you know, some cannot even get access to the healthcare, hospitals. If women are going to the hospital to give birth there, you know, like there is nothing there to help them, you know. Nurses cannot help them because they are lacking the materials that are needed. But this is the output of bad governance in Africa. If we have a government who does not care about the people, they are never going to be hard on corruption. And that is the problem, that is the disease that we are having currently in Africa. So since this investigation came out, the banker fled to Dubai, but according to the news that the banker was forced to return back to Sierra Leone so they can take actions against this banker. This is just once in a million to see something like this in Africa, because most of the things that happens, those who are stealing the money are our leaders, from the presidents, their governors, ministers, the judges, the high rankers, the police officers, the military heads, these are the thieves in Africa most of the time. And most of them, the monies that they are stealing from the government, or the money that they are sharing among themselves, we are not seeing it with the normal citizens. Or even we know it, for instance, if a leader steals money and they will leave the country and go and live in Europe or in America. Now, this is what I think African governments should do. If someone steals money and go to, let's say, Dubai or in the United States whatsoever, those countries there, they should be able to arrest these people and bring them back to face justice. If not, then these African particular countries should cut diplomatic ties. Let's say if the individuals go to the United States and American fails to arrest the individuals and send him back to face justice, they should remove the American embassy in that particular country. All across Africa, this is the way you fight corruption. But our leaders will take money from Africa. They will go and live in a lavish lifestyle in Europe. Yes, they will never be prosecuted for it. We have seen that one, over and over again, whether the leaders of Congo, Nigeria, and over again. But guess what? You cannot also enforce that if you do not have a great leader, which means a president or a leader who is willing to fight corruption. So most of them, unfortunately, are in the same basket, which means that they are helping one another, to engage in corruption and to steal millions, while everyone else is dying.
What people have done to many children in Sierra Leone for years. Children who go to school, there are no learning materials. Hospitals without drugs. Once I
just cut that video shortly, just to explain something to you guys. This guy, he went on to say that, he went to the hospital. Those hospitals in Sierra Leone, they have nothing. In fact, there are people laying on those hospitals' bed, If you see the conditions on the floor, it is really terrible. While you have leaders in Africa enriching themselves and their families, then later on they will leave the continent to go and live in Europe or in America. They will become American passport or European passport. While Africa, millions will be dying. This is why if your leader comes to power, they do not, or they are not hard on corruption. Instead, they want to add their own salary, know that they are bad leaders, they are bad seeds, they are not good for the nation, they cannot lead a country. For instance, in my own country, in the Gambia, we have the same issues right now. At the hospitals, nurses are using one needle, one needle for sick people for the whole day. One needle. Could you imagine? While we have a president, we have ministers, we have judges, their children are going to school in the United States, including the presidents, their children are going to school in Europe, they can have medication everywhere they want, Europe, United States, but the poor Gambians cannot. Like in this video, the poor Sierra Leoneans, cannot afford anything, while you have our leaders, those who are supposed to protect the people, those are the ones who are the most corrupt ones, This is why when we have leaders who are fighting corruption, like leaders in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, we should love and support these leaders by any means, because this is just really sad, to see something like this happening.